Hey, y'all. Welcome back to another solo episode of Business First Creatives. We are going to treat this episode like a July roundup, like a me giving you an update on where I am and where my business is now, because July was fucking awesome. I felt like for the first time in a very long time that I was able to fully show up for my business, and it showed. I had my best month since late 2023. And I didn't realize it, of course, at the beginning of the month, but I had all of these things planned. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about all of them today because I do think that it shapes where I'm going for the rest of 2025. So I kicked off July with a sales parade. It is a program that Seals Lockley runs. It is 14 days of talking about one offer at least 4 times a day. So the idea is that within a 2-week period, you are going to talk about this offer, you are going to sell this offer, and you are going to get comfortable doing it. Now, I've never been uncomfortable selling, let me just say that. But in recent months, in the last year, I have been very uncomfortable being on social media. It's a new thing. And so I just haven't shown up on Instagram in more than 7 months. And although I go on Threads and I comment on other people's posts all the time, I was not creating my own content on Threads. Literally for the last 18 months, the only content that I have really created is behind the scenes. I have continued to create this podcast, although in all of 2024, there wasn't a single solo episode, so it was all guest episodes. But I have continued to produce this podcast, which gets shared on YouTube. I have continued to share short clips on YouTube Shorts and on Pinterest. And then, of course, every episode gets blogged. Now, I have also kept up with my blog writing. I shouldn't say me, Kara. You guys have met her in a previous episode. She is awesome about making sure that my blogging is kept up. But in general, all I did was create behind the scenes content for the last 18 months. And in July, for the first 2 weeks, I wrote a lot of emails. Now, I had been writing emails for all of 2025, so that part wasn't new. But I wrote a lot of emails, and then I also showed up on Threads every single day, sometimes more than 4 times a day, because I definitely hit, I think it was 53 parades in that 2-week period. And the interesting part was, in June, I had just launched my email course, Email Like You Mean It. So I had literally been talking about client communication for like a solid, at that point, it was probably 6 or 7 weeks. And I was like, I can't talk about that, not one more moment. So when it came time to pick a product to do my sales parade on, I was like, I got nothing. I mean, I had just launched my blueprint course in May. I had just launched Email Like You Mean It, my email course in June. I was like, I don't want to talk about either of those anymore. So at the beginning of July, I literally hopped in the shower, and I'm pretty sure I told you this in a previous episode, but I hopped in the shower. And by the time I got out of the shower, I had a brand new offer. It was called Workflow FastPass. And basically, I removed the workflow templates from my system shop and instead replaced it with a AI-powered done for you offer. Now, you filled out an intake form. It asked you a bunch of questions. I used one of my AI assistants for Dubsado or Honeybook to build your workflows, and then I gave it like a human quality check before I delivered it to you in a Google Doc. But it didn't take me very long to realize I don't want to sell that to new people. Like, there were some nuances with the intake form, and most of it, I will say, was related to Honeybook. Doing Honeybook automations 2.0 off of an intake form is very difficult. There are so many things where I want to come back and ask you, okay, but what about this? And what about this? And the way that I sold it, it wasn't going to be on a call where I could ask all those clarifying questions. So pretty quickly after I announced it, after I started selling it, I took it down and put it back on a wait list. And what I realized at the end of the day is I'm so glad that I created that Workflow FastPass. I'm so glad that I sold it during the sales parade, but it makes a great upsell it makes a great bonus when you buy the blueprint or when you sign up for systems in session. Like, the idea is great. But I don't want to create a workflow FastPass for people who are only coming to me just for the workflows. And I don't actually know all of the rest of your client experience to make sure that you are building it in a way that is actually going to help your business. It felt like it was just one piece of the puzzle. And at the price point, I definitely didn't want to do it again. So it's currently on a wait list. Every once in a while, I might put a few of them out to kind of test the waters again. And so if you were interested in the Workflow FastPass, the link is in the show notes. I do encourage you to sign up for the wait list, because I have already one other time sent an email that was like, hey, I can do 2 slots before I shut it down for my birthday sabbatical. Who wants them? And I only sent it to the wait list. So if that was something that you heard in a previous episode, or you saw me talking about it on Threads and it's something that you were interested in, it does still exist. I'm just not selling it publicly as an introductory offer, which is what I originally thought it was going to be. I mean, I was so excited. Even last week, the episode that I recorded with Anami Tonkin was recorded when I was actively selling the Workflow FastPass. So in that episode, I talk all about an offer that I don't even want to sell as an introductory offer anymore. Okay. So that kind of covers the first 2 weeks of July. Again, I was doing the sales parade. I was talking about Workflow FastPass every single day. And I mean, I was throwing in other things. Like, I was talking about behind the scenes. I was talking about creating my podcast. I was talking about some of the client wins that people were getting inside of systems in session. But that was my focus. Now I want to tell you about the second thing that I did in July, because, man, it was amazing. So I partnered up with Maddie Peschong, who is an amazing brand photographer and educator, and she's also one of my clients. You guys have heard her on this podcast, I think 3 times, and I recently recorded an episode for her podcast that I plan to re-air on this podcast in a few weeks. So stay tuned for that. But I partnered up with Maddie, and I created a specific webinar for her audience about creating a luxury client experience using your systems for brand photographers. Now, you know what comes with webinars. I ideated the material, I sat down, I made the slides, and then I taught it. And when I taught that webinar, I was like, no, this is so good. Like, this is probably where I'm going to shift how I talk about client experience. Because sometimes you just sit down and you take something from a different angle, a different perspective. And in this case, it was the fact that I was selling it as a luxury experience. So let me explain that a little bit. I feel like when I generally talk about systems, I'm always talking about ease. I'm always talking about how systems make your life easier, how they make your clients' life easier, how they give you back your time. But I don't really talk much about the client transformation on the other side of the systems. Like, what happens when you have a client experience that runs like clockwork? What happens when you are no longer wasting hours every week, every month, micromanaging your clients? What does that give you time to do? And so in July, I spent a lot of time talking about what happens on the other side. And in this case, for Maddie's audience, I was talking about the fact that when you get your systems in order, this is going to make the experience that you give people in front of your camera match the experience that they got from working with you overall. And the other part was, I mean, I called it charge more, stress less. So I was really like angling into the money, which I typically don't do. But the whole idea is, if you make a luxury experience for your clients where everything is being done in a high touch and consistent manner, you will then feel more like a professional, and you will be able to raise your prices if that is something that you have been wanting to do. Now, was it just for Maddie's audience that I was talking about this? No. I mean, I have a couple people in systems in session right now, and one of them specifically said to me last week, you know, I raised my prices and no one blinked, and I feel good about that. So not just working with me, But making sure that your systems are good in general makes you feel like more of a professional. It makes you feel like what you are offering is worth a higher price tag. And so not only did I teach the webinar to Maddie's audience, I also created a toolkit just for brand photographers to basically get your systems in order if you are a Dubsado user or a HoneyBook user. Now, if you are familiar with the other toolkits that I've sold previously in the system shop, they're very similar. Like it included your entire client journey mapped out. Granted, in a general way for brand photographers, but I mean, I think that once you got in there, like 90% of it was good. And then you would just need to customize like 10% for your business. So it talked about mapping out your entire customer journey. And it also had all of the assets that you would need in order to implement it in your CRM. So it included a booking proposal. It included email templates. It included a client questionnaire. And I also spent a lot of time emphasizing what happens when you offboard your clients. Because for branding photographers, when you deliver that gallery, you should pretty much already be thinking about when that client is going to come back next. I know for a fact that I am not the only person who has a brand session like in front of the camera. I'm not even talking about me being the photographer. I'm not the only person that gets in front of the camera, gets my gallery, loves it, slaps it up everywhere, website, podcast promos, all of it. And then like a month, 2 months in, I'm like, okay, I'm ready for updated photos. And the thing is, brand photographers need to be in the habit of telling people this is a potential outcome of getting a brand session. Like you will want brand photos again sometime soon. It is not a thing where you do brand photos and you just use them for like 2 to 3 years. Now, I will say, of course, there are some businesses that do that. Like, for example, I did several brand shoots for a dental company in Dallas, and they are still using all of my images now. But they're not a personal brand. When you're a personal brand and you're posting on social media constantly and you are sharing these things, and if you have a YouTube channel or a podcast, you are going to be using images more frequently than others, which means you need to get those images refreshed more often than others. So I sold the toolkit. It was a great success. And then I almost immediately went in to my third phase of July. And so this was getting ready for my birthday sabbatical and also selling out systems in session so that when I come back in business mid-August, I am ready to kickstart the program with several new people. Now, systems in session is something that I have been quietly running since April. I actually first talked about it on a business bestie chat with Sabrina Gebhardt over on the Shoot It Straight podcast. And I had to look it up before we did our latest biz chat for Q3 of 2025. It was actually Q3 of 2024 when I first mentioned it on that podcast. I was like, Sabrina, I'm going to be announcing soon that I've got this new offer. And instead of it being done for you, it's going to be done with you. And I'm super excited about it. And I gave some details. And then the thing is, it took me 6 damn months to get that thing off the ground. But I am so glad that I did. I started with 2 beta students. And then I added in an additional 2. And then I added in 1 more. And now, as of this week, I have enrolled 5 new people. So when I come back mid-August, I have 5 new people who are going to be kickstarting their journey inside of Systems in Session. And I am just so unbelievably happy about that program and what it allows me to do and the results that my clients have had inside of it thus far. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Coley, but you have the blueprint, which is your course. How is this different? So the course at this point, and it is actually getting a facelift for its 5th anniversary in November, so please stay tuned. But as of right now, the course is strictly self-paced. You get it. It has all of the templates and tools and trainings that you need to set up your own systems inside of Dubsado or HoneyBook, but it doesn't have me there to hold your hand live. Now, I will admit, I would have never made that course self-paced if it didn't actually have everything in it that you need to implement your systems. I mean, people have told me multiple times, you watch the videos and it's like you're there telling me what to do, except I'm not really there telling you what to do. So that is what Systems in Session is. This new program is you join me for a 60-day container, and we customize everything that you need for your business. I map out your entire customer journey. I end up doing a Workflow FastPass for you, which is new for these people starting in August. I am going to give them a fully fleshed out workflow plan a week in so that they can use that to implement the systems throughout the rest of the 60-day container. I'm so excited about this. But this is me helping you strategize everything. And then you hop in and you complete tasks one by one. And when you do them, you come back to me for feedback. I give it to you, and then I assign you another task. Now, at the end of the 60-day container, the idea is that you are going to have a completely customized and luxury, if that's your brand, client experience for both you and your customers. And I've done a lot of other things with the beta students. For example, one person came in and she wasn't quite sure about her offers. She had recently revamped them. She was switching to a new pricing system. And so we spent the first 2 weeks of her 60-day container really refining her offer. And was that originally part of like Systems in Session? No. But the beauty of Systems in Session is that I get to help you wherever you start. It is not that I am giving you this signature system to implement with no flexibility. That's kind of what the blueprint is. I mean, you get flexibility, but you have to figure out where you're making the changes. Versus in Systems in Session, we get together. You tell me all about your business. I ask you about how you like to run it, what your bottlenecks are, what gives you headaches, what brings you joy. And we build a client experience that matches that. So it is completely personalized. And if you need things like setting up a client hub so that you know where your leads are coming in and how many of those people are booking you and all of that good jazz, we can go there. If you're not certain about your offers and we need to review your offer ecosystem before we jump into your client experience, we can do that too. Because inside Systems in Session, it is built with the luxury of customizing it for what your needs are. Now, a lot of people who are coming into Systems in Session already have systems that kind of work. But I will tell you what all of them have in common. All of them are micromanaging their systems. None of them are running it on autopilot. All of them are using too many approvals in their workflows, or that they don't have workflows at all. They may have email templates that are like 60, 70% of the way there, but they are not using workflows to send them. They are manually keeping up with every single client project. And so that is what Systems in Session gives you at the end of the 60 days, is the ease of knowing that your client experience works for your business and that we have taken as much off of your plate as possible. Okay, so again, to recap, July was my birthday month, and it was the most fabulous that I have had in quite some time. I am very proud of all of the things that I did, even setting up an entire sales page for Workflow FastPass, selling it for 6 days, and then deciding that that was not an introductory offer for me. Oh, I forgot. In there, I also gave my client experience audit a facelift as well. So the client experience audit used to include a complete review of your CRM, plus I walked through your client experience. Well, most people didn't need the complete review of your CRM. Like, they just wanted to know where they could improve the client experience itself. So I did refine it. Now, when you book a client experience audit, I am specifically running through your client experience. I'm still making you a walkthrough video. I'm still giving you an action plan, but I'm not going through to make sure that you've connected your calendar correctly inside of Dubsado, or that you have your branding colors, for your buttons inside of your CRM. I'm not doing that anymore. And there is definitely no 18-point rubric that gives you a score on how well you are using your CRM anymore. It is simply a review of your client experience, of your offer, and I'm telling you where I see the errors and where I would suggest that you make improvements to make the entire experience better for both you and your clients. Okay, so that's my wrap up for July. Do you know that my kid is going to high school this month? So I'm taking time for our birthdays, for the remainder of the birthdays. I'm also taking time to go to Disneyland. But also, most important, I'm waiting until my kid goes to high school because I think I'm going to be a basket case that week. We shall see. If you have any questions on anything that I've discussed in this episode, please visit the show notes or come send me a DM on either Threads or Instagram because I am still posting over there. I mean, I forced myself to do it in July and now I see it going forward. Additionally, Systems in Session is now sold out, but I am going to continuously promote the waitlist for this program because as people finish their 60-day containers, there will be new seats that open up for you to join. So if you are interested in hearing more about Systems in Session, you do want to join the waitlist because when seats become available, I am going to go to the waitlist first. And there's also going to be a bonus when you join off the waitlist. So I want you to go to coleyjames.com/systems-in-session. Find out all the details. And if you think it's something that might work for you, go ahead and join the waitlist. As of now, the next seats will open the second and third week of September. All right. That's it for this episode. I'll see you guys next time.